Welcome to part 2 of installing heated side mirrors of a 2015 Honda Fit EX, and I've already taken off the inner door panel of the passenger door, removed the speaker without any issue at all, and since I knew where all the clips were on the driver's side, I didn't have to really mess with using my tools to wrestle this thing off. It came off quite easily, and I'm just going to show a few quick things. Here's the connector for the mirror, and I've already done the disassembly of the mirror. It's still on the car though. Taken off the mirror, again same mounts as the driver's side. I've taken off the skull already. It's still mounted to the car, but it looks like I still may have to dismount it from the car in order to snake the wires through. What you can see is the lane watch camera. It's a 6-wire configuration, so it doesn't look to be a closed circuit TV type of connection as I originally had thought, but there you have it. If anyone ever decided to mess around with this for other purposes, you might be able to do some sort of hack. But that's what you can expect when you take this thing apart. The next part I have to do is route the two heater wires in, and it looks like this piece here is pretty tight, so I think I am going to have to remove it from the vehicle. Not really what I wanted to do, but looks like I have no choice, and we'll have to do the same procedure as I did on the driver's side. As mentioned with the driver's side, this rubber grommet is going to be the biggest bitch of them all. I really don't want to have to take it off or even remove the door completely, so I am going to try a coat hanger wire. I am going to use a slightly thinner gauge wire. I'm going to use 18 gauge instead of 16, just due to the that area where the for the mirror, it seems to be pretty crowded in that pivot point. So I'll have to thin down the wire, and each mirror is only going to pull about 2 to 3 amps tops when it's running. Another good thing to note is that I've already taken out the glove box, and up over here, and I don't know how well I'm going to be able to get it to see, but if you look here, right up there where my finger is, are the two connectors from the outside. So it's a hell of a lot easier to get to on the passenger side than it is on the driver's side, where the driver's side has got all the fuse panels located in front of it, and it makes snaking the wires through much more difficult. Alright, I admit success, and I also admit idiocy, because I really should have done the same procedure on the driver's side when I was in the process of putting the wires through. A simple coat hanger did the trick, but instead of going up and through, I decided to go the opposite way, down and through, because you can bend it that way. And then I only did one wire. Now this is 18 gauge wire. I did 16 on the other side, which I really should have done 18, because it's only going to be pulling about 2-3 amps tops. This will certainly do it. And I didn't have to take this piece off, and this is kind of left in there the way it should, which is great. I was able to disconnect the two plugs in there, so I have some clearance, and now everything seems to be ready to go. So through the magic of editing, I will take off the rearview mirror here, and we'll go on inside and take a little bit more leisure time installing the wires through the pivot point. Okay, we're inside now, and just completed putting my two 18 gauge wires through the cord through here, and I'll put the tape back around here and everything, and I was able to get it up through the pivot point here. It is much tighter than the driver's side because of the more wires for the lane watch camera, but it looks to be like this is going to work just fine. Over here, the same opening, and that's where I'm going to feed these two wires through. And then as far as connectors are on the mirror itself, which are located right here, I'm going to be using Autocraft 7/64 female disconnects, spade connects. Now, it says audio, but no, it's a bunch of crap. It doesn't matter if it's for audio or for electrical. And then that's what they basically look like. You know, nothing out of the ordinary, so I'll crimp these, and then I'll put a little bit of hot glue on the inside, just so that it doesn't, so it stays weatherproof, and also adds a little bit of strain relief to it, and go from there. And here's the final assembly with the heated side mirror installed. I have my two 18 gauge wires for the heating element there. And we should be all set to go to put this back on the car. I did clean the skull. And again, inside the skull, for those that are curious, there's still 2 tabs on the bottom and 2 tabs on the top in order to release that from the back of the mirror, or the front of the mirror in this case. Okay, and for those that are interested, this is a test setup of how how the heating grids will operate on the vehicle. When I initially set this up, I have my meter in line to show the amount of amperage draw. It started off at about 1.7, 1.8 amps, and it is warm to the touch. And what happens is that as the heating grid heats up, the resistance of the grid rises, which means that the current goes down. And that's to be expected. That's why on the defroster switch within the vehicle, it has a timer which limits the time the current is passing through the heating grids. And then after, like, say 10 minutes, I believe the switch turns off, and it waits however long it's preset for, and then it turns back on. And that's not only just for safety, but it also prevents unnecessary draw from your electrical system. So this is what you can look to expect. It starts off about 1.8 amps, and then it drops down, and I think it's pretty much leveling off here at about 1.1, 1.15 amps here. And that's how each mirror will operate. So for fuse size, you could get away with the 5 amp fuse. Then again, I wouldn't chance it. I would suggest a 7.5 amp fuse, and I will confirm this later in the video once I look at the manual. But I'm 99% sure that a 7.5 amp fuse would be more than enough. God forbid, if anything does short, that fuse will pop fairly quickly. Now that I know that the mirror works, I'm going to reinstall it back onto the vehicle, and then instead of directly connecting the 2 mirrors to the defrost switch, I am going to use a single pole, single throw relay. This I got from Advanced Auto Parts. It is a 40 amp relay. It's way oversized for what I need. I just wasn't able to find a 10 amp, and so I'll use this one. It's the most basic of relays. Basically, you have a coil, which when energized will actually complete the circuit between these 2 wires. So the one will be a ground, and then this one here, or it really doesn't matter, but let's just say for example, this one will be a ground to the chassis frame, and then this one will go to the switch side of the defroster switch. This will energize the coil, which will then complete the circuit from a fused wire, which I'll use here. I put a 7.5 amp fuse in here. It's basically an add-a-fuse kit. So this wire will go to this side, and then the 2 mirrors in parallel will connect to this spade connector here, so that when you turn on the defroster switch, it will not overload that particular circuit. It will the mirrors will be on their own fuse circuit bus. That way you don't pop any fuses for your rear window defroster. So through the magic of editing, this will be back on the vehicle, and I will be inside the car wiring everything up. Looking into tapping into my relay that I put in for the heated side mirrors into the defroster switch, so that when you press the defroster switch, the back window turns on, and so do the side mirrors. And I have the power wire for the relay to energize the coil, and I figured I could tap it off of here. Turns out I cannot. There's 5 wires on there, and each of them are computer controlled in the ICM, which is basically the internal computer module that operates all the various functions of the climate control, head unit, things of that nature, dash panel. It's not going to be that easy to tap into those wires, and it's not recommended. I know that any extra load on computer components will lead to disasters, so I cannot do it that way. So I decided, okay, well, the only other logical place to tap power to activate the side mirrors along with the rear defroster is to go to the actual relay that the computer control actually activates. So I thought, oh, it's probably just underneath the driver's side kick panel where the fuse panel is. No, it's not there at all. And this is what's pissing me off right now, because as a tech person and a DIY, I always fight with the engineering side of with vehicles and things of that nature, products and whatnot. I'm always butting heads. I can't even believe where this relay is actually located. Then again, this is a much newer car. It's a 2015. Here's where that relay is located. It is under the fucking hood. That's where it's located at. There's a little set right here. There's a whole bunch of relays. This one right here controls the rear defroster. And then this wire harness goes down and around along the firewall wheel well, and then goes back in through the firewall into where the glove compartment and the air handler is. And where that wire comes through is in the back, if you could see straight ahead, all the way against the soundproof stuff in the corner. And I'm sorry if I can't really focus in on it too good, but that's where that grommet comes in, and that's where the relays are located. So somewhere underneath here, if I have to remove this panel again, is to find out where this all goes to. And then there's a whole bunch of wires going up through that way. I have to somehow figure out which wire is for the hot part of the coil relay for the defroster, and then tap into that so I can activate my new relay that I put in for the heated side mirrors. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to finish this today. I am losing daylight, and it is starting to snow. We are getting some weather here where I live here, and just not really too happy right now. This will have to be to be continued, and once I probably just going to go and bite the bullet and buy the service manual so I can look at the wiring diagram to do this right. But just kind of pissed that I happened to find the relay under the hood rather than inside the cabin, which would have made things a lot easier. So, all right, to be continued. Thanks, guys.